Welcome, everyone, to the Better Love Movement podcast, where you will finally learn how to intentionally do dating and relationships right. My name is Anita Stoudemire, and I'm a licensed professional therapist and your personal love mentor. I've worked with thousands of singles and couples, giving them the skills needed to attract and keep the amazing love they desire. It's my heart's work to help people to get the skills needed to not only become the very best versions of themselves, but to help them grow and evolve emotionally and relationally. You can absolutely have the romantic relationship of your dreams. Come and let me show you how. Hey everybody, it's Anita with Better Love Movement. So I am back again this week with another podcast episode. We are in episode number 71, and it is entitled, Once a Cheater, Always a Cheater? Okay, so I get asked this question quite a bit by some of the clients that I work with, and I'm going to jump right in with this one because so many folks want to know if a man or woman has cheated on a previous partner or in a previous relationship, and now they are with you. What is the likelihood that they will cheat again? Or I have clients right now who have gone through infidelity with their current partner, and their concern is, will their partner do this again? Which rightly so, because, they're in the thick of the pain and the hurt of infidelity and cheating and all that brings. So, there's a lot of uncertainty there. And I always tell folks, whether you've been cheated on or not, love is risk. Like, that's what's required if you're going to have a deep, intimate connection and love with a person. You're going to have to be vulnerable and you're going to take a chance. It does involve risk. So there's just no way around that. You won't really experience true, deep, real love until you become vulnerable, until you take that risk. So here's what I will say about this. This is such a case-by-case situation. And so I've seen so many different cases where one of the partners has cheated, okay? And whether that is emotional cheating, whether that is physical, like sexual cheating, there's so many different ways in which to redirect the love, attention, and sexual attraction to another person. So that's kind of what I believe, that if you are in an exclusive and committed monogamous relationship with someone, and they are redirecting their love, their time, their attention, their sexual attraction off of you to another person, in my eyes, yes, that is a form of cheating. Because they are taking something that should be solely yours and they are redirecting it elsewhere. So this is why for a lot of people, even emotional cheating is so devastating, because that is time and attention that you were once getting or they were directing towards you that they're now directing towards someone else. So a lot of people don't get that. Like, they don't understand that cheating, there's so many layers to it. It's not just you're having sex with another person. There are other ways in which you can redirect your love, your attention, your affection, sexual attraction. You redirect that onto something else or someone else. Yes, I consider that to be cheating on your partner. So with that being said, again, this is such a case-by-case situation. And I do actually take all of the cases that come through my door case by case. Now, there are gut instincts that I have about people, and I'll share some of that so you can kind of get into my head about that, what that's about, and how I'm able to predict if a partner, in fact, will be unfaithful again. So there are some intuitive things that I kind of pick up on. There's some gut instinct that just tells me, yeah, this is probably going to happen again. This person is probably, going to do this again. One of the biggest things that I always say about cheating, and I've gotten some pushback about this, but this is just, this is what I believe. This is what my gut tells me, that cheating in and of itself is a character flaw. It is something that lives inside of people. Not everybody, I don't believe. I think certain people that they see this as an option. Like this is on the table for them if something isn't going their way in the relationship. They're not getting as much sex as they want. They're not getting as much attention as they want. Something isn't well in the relationship that they're in. They see this behavior as an option. Like this is an option I have to do this behavior in response to maybe something else that's going on. And so the reason why I say that is because there are certain people, high moral character people and people of great integrity, that it doesn't matter what's going on in their relationship. This thing, this infidelity or this cheating is not an option. Like that's just not what they do. They're not built for that. And they're going to do what I always say, you have two options. They're going to take one of these two options. They're going to go to their partner and talk to their partner about what's going on, why they're unhappy, why they're unfulfilled in the relationship. Or number two, they're going to leave the relationship. Like that's the only two options they see, in this situation where something isn't right, they're not happy, they're not getting enough sex, they're being mistreated, they're not getting enough affection, or whatever is going on, right? There's only two options. Now, that's the person who has high integrity, high moral character, answers to something higher than themselves. That's that person. So it doesn't matter what the state of the relationship is. That's just something they're not going to do. I know for me personally, this is something that's never happened to me in terms of I've never cheated on another person that I've been with. And the reason being is because I really do believe that it puts me as low as other people. It puts me in a low place. I don't believe it's a classy move, and I like to consider myself a classy feminine woman. And so it's just something I would never, ever consider. I just think that it tells people more about me as a person than about my partner. So when people have come to me and said, well, she wasn't having sex with me as much as I like, or he wasn't showing me enough attention, I just don't believe that you're cheating or you're being unfaithful. It's not even in the same playing field as that. Like to me, it lowers you beneath whatever it is that's going on in your relationship. So I never see it as an option. And I consider myself, a pretty classy, feminine woman, of high moral character. So that's never something I would reach for. I would never reach for, the cheating, the sneaking around, and I don't have the patience for the sneaking around, to be honest with you. I just don't have it in me. It's difficult for me to date one person. I can't even fathom trying to manage a whole nother person. Like anybody who's dated me will tell you, it's a stretch. Like it's a lot. It's a lot for me to date one man, much less try to sneak around with 2 and 3 and 4 or whatever. I just don't have that kind of energy. I don't have that kind of time or energy. But aside from that, I really do believe that, I have an integrity that's high, and just, I don't want to be seen as doing that. I just think there's something about that it says more about me as a person. It says more about my character. So, we have to ask ourselves, who are we dealing with when we're thinking about people that see this as an option? And then the second thing I'm going to say is I want you to look for patterns. I want you to look for patterns. And you know what? We've all been guilty of this, myself included. I have dated men, and there were very obvious patterns there that this is the type of behavior that they found themselves doing. And it's not a mistake. We're not going to say it's a mistake. It's a conscious choice. It's a choice that they made at some point. They got to that crossroads where it was like, okay, I can come back from this and go home, or I can go off with this woman. I can sleep with this woman. And clearly they made that choice. So be mindful of patterns, because if a man has been married once, twice, three times, and those marriages haven't worked out, if he has cheated in all of those marriages, it is very likely he will do it again. So you have got to be wary of patterns. And a person has really, number one, so here's some of the things that my gut tells me whether this person's going to offend again or not. Number one, if the person is a blamer, like, just be mindful of people who blame. Be very, pay attention to that. Be very mindful of that. So if the person can give you 1,001 excuses as to why this happened, if the person even sounds like they're blaming the partner, they're blaming the betrayed spouse, right? Well, she didn't do this and she didn't do that, or he didn't give it to me enough, or, I didn't get enough affection. I didn't give him that. No, that's not a good sign, because they're telling you, I am not going to take any responsibility for this. I'm going to put it on the other person and trust and believe something outside of them is going to happen again, and they're going to put it on them again. And when you're thinking about all the reasons why outside of your character, why this has happened, trust that's going to come up again. It's going to happen again, that those circumstances will come up and that person will respond the same way. So be mindful of that. If you hear a lot of blaming and excuses, be very, very careful about that. That's like kind of the first thing I listen for. I want to hear acknowledgement. I want to hear the person acknowledge what they did, acknowledge that it was a choice. Because that's the other thing. If they say, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I slipped up. If it sounds anything like that, no, you have to acknowledge, I made this choice. I could have stopped myself, but I didn't. I made this choice to be with someone else, to, carry on this emotional affair, to keep texting this person, calling this person. And let me tell you, it's unlikely in this day and age. I guess it's possible with the whole hookup culture, but it's unlikely that your man went off and one night was in the bar, had too much to drink, and took someone home and slept with them. That's kind of unlikely. It can happen. It can happen. But usually these type of situations where there's cheating involved, this person has to be warmed up. Like, there has to be some sort of foundational establishment of, okay, this is where this is going. There's some physical attraction. I'm going to talk to you for a little bit. I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you. And then bam, it's going to happen. But it's unlikely that your man was in a bar somewhere, had too much to drink, a woman came on to him, and he just took her home. Like, he went from 0 to 100. That's more unlikely than the second scenario, which is this thing simmered. This thing took time. This thing took, very conscious effort on their part to, make this thing happen. So blaming is the number one thing I want you to be very wary of. If a person comes off as blaming or excusing, there's a lot of excuses as to why this happened, and very little acknowledgement. So we're going to talk later about the 3 things needed to really get past, infidelity of any kind. There are 3 steps that have to happen for this thing to get back on track. But this idea of I'm going to blame, it's the other person's fault, they weren't doing something or giving me something or whatever. Be wary of that. If that's the first thing that comes from them, I will run. I will run because I'm like, this person, they're going to do it again. Okay, so the second thing my gut tells me is the level of remorse or repentance. And this is the person truly, completely being sorry. Like they are truly sorry, not only for what they've done, but for the pain that it's caused their partner. And so if you're seeing that maybe for the first couple of days, maybe a week or two, and then after that, it's, oh, get over it already. Why do we have to keep talking about this? What is your problem? Why are you not having sex with me? I mean, this is insane. But yes, people act like this. People do this. They're like, get over it. It's been 3 weeks. It's been a month. It's been 2 months, and you should be over it by now. I can't believe we're still talking about this. We're still not having sex. You're still not hugging on me and kissing me and touching me. I wonder why. There has to be a remorse and a repentance there that says, I did this. Like, I did this. If this, situation in the house is not good, it's because I did it. Like, you gotta own it. That's why we're not in a great space, because I have broken the trust and I've put us here. But if that person is acting like, seriously, really, you're not over it yet? Like, what's the problem? Can we just move past this? It's been a month. How long is this going to go on? And now you're not speaking to me, or we're not sleeping in the same room or in the same bed. No, it will take as long as it takes. And you, as the transgressor, certainly don't get to say how long that is. Sorry, you just don't. And so you're an open book. You now become a complete open book. You are humble, not prideful. You allow that person, short of abusing you, because no one gets to abuse you, even if you've done something dumb or something wrong, short of that person just abusing you, but you remain the rock in the storm during this time. You've got to be the strong and steady one. And while there is a certain amount of shame on you for what happened, you've got to, just be that rock in the storm if you want this relationship to continue. So that leads me to the point that I tell every couple that comes into my office who's experienced any betrayal of trust or cheating or infidelity of any kind. You got two things. Number one is the cheating, the infidelity. Whatever the situation was that happened. That's the first thing. The second thing you have is the relationship. And the truth of the matter is, you can't keep both. You cannot keep both. You cannot hold on to what happened. You cannot talk about it forever. You cannot be angry about it forever. You cannot withhold sex forever and think you're going to continue your relationship. Like, think you're going to stay in your marriage and be happy in your marriage and have your partner, be loving and gentle and wonderful toward you. You just cannot keep both. And so the goal is always to, if it's your intention to stay in the relationship, the marriage, you've got to slowly let go of the infidelity. And again, you're probably never going to forget it, but you have to start on that path of forgiveness. And you've got to let that go, because you can't keep both. If you keep the first one, the second one will blow up. So you've got to decide. And you know what? Here's the thing, guys. Everybody doesn't pick the second one, right? Everyone doesn't pick the second one. I didn't. I couldn't do it. I was like, nope, I want to hold on to the infidelity. I want to hold on to what happened. I don't ever want to forget it. I want to be pissed off. I want to be angry and sorry, but I can't, I don't want the relationship. I don't want to maintain the relationship because the infidelity, the betrayal of trust was just that serious. Like, I can't get past it. I can't get past it enough to continue in the relationship with the transgressor. Now, have I gotten past it in life? Sure. I'm in a great place. And I have healed a lot of the past betrayal, the past cheating and trust issues. I've healed a lot of that because at this point, it's a mindset for me. I don't attract cheaters anymore. I had to go inside and do that work and figure out, why was I attracting cheaters? What was that about? What part did I play in that? And again, this is subconscious. You're not going to be aware that you are attracting cheaters. You're attracting men who are unfaithful, but you've got to go deep and you've got to do that work. And you might realize, you might unearth some subconscious beliefs that support this cheating and you attracting cheaters. You've got to do that work. So I've since done that work and I'm in a great place. I don't attract cheaters anymore. That's not my issue. I got other things going on, but that's not one of them. But I chose to hold on to the betrayal because I could not get past it. I could not maintain the marriage I was in. I couldn't let go of it. I just couldn't do it. I was like, nope, this has happened before and it happened, before me. And clearly this is a pattern, there's a pattern here and nope, I can't live the rest of my life like this. And so I chose number one and let number two go and have been happy and better for it ever since. But really, if you're going to choose number two, you have to let go of number one. You can't have both. You just cannot have both. It doesn't work that way. And again, your relationship will blow up eventually. So you've really got to decide, which one it's going to be. And again, I'm not saying one is going to go away overnight, but you've got to get on that path. You've got to get on that path to letting go of number one and really focusing on number two, which is the relationship. So the interesting thing, this is an interesting statistic, and remember, I'm a nerd, so I love all things statistics and, studies and all that stuff. So the General Social Survey at the University of Chicago, it says since 1972, the General Social Survey has been monitoring societal change and studying the growing complexity of American society. The coolest thing about this is, I cannot wait to read studies that come out in the next few years, simply because I would love for them to kind of figure out what's going on with the hookup culture and the decline in marriage and all of that. All that stuff has me really, really curious. One of the things it says is the General Social Survey questions include such items as national spending priorities, marijuana use, crime and punishment, race relations, quality of life, and confidence in institutions. Since 1988, the General Social Survey has also collected data on sexual behavior, including number of sex partners, frequency of intercourse, extramarital relationships, and sex with prostitutes. Wow, scandalous. Okay, so this survey says that 21% of men who are married and 15% of women who are married have had extramarital affairs. And the thing I find so fascinating about this is, because a lot of times when I talk to other people about this statistic, they believe it's higher. They actually believe it's much higher, and that a lot of people being surveyed are probably not being honest. And I might have to agree with that. That might actually be true, because I'm certain most people do not want to admit to having an extramarital affair, but they believe that this statistic is even higher. Like some of the women that I talk to, they say 21%. No, that's like 70. It's like 60 or 70% of men. And even women now, they're saying, yeah, it's like 30% of women. So take these numbers with a grain of salt, but 21% of men who are married and 15% of women have had extramarital affairs. So I tell you, those numbers are sobering for sure. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the 3 things needed if you have been in a relationship or are in a relationship where there has been infidelity or cheating and you want to save this relationship. Because a lot of people do. I mean, there's a lot of my couples that come in and they do. They want to save their relationship or their marriage for many, many other reasons. And so there are 3 things that must happen. Number 1, the offending spouse, must fully acknowledge what they have done. And I'm talking They must fully acknowledge the act or acts, if there were more than one or more than one person, I don't know. And they must also acknowledge the pain that they have caused. And this is, like I said, this can be difficult for people. This is a hard one because a lot of people don't want to do this. They want to blame. They want to shift the blame to their partner or to something else or someone else. And, you've got to fully acknowledge what happened. And so I work with people on this because I understand that it's just like when you get caught doing something when you're a child. And your first instinct is to shift the blame off of yourself, right? Most kids, when you catch them doing something, or you, like in my house, someone's eaten something they shouldn't have, that was mine, or they've left a mess, right? So I immediately call everyone down. Okay, who left this? It wasn't me. It was my sister. It was my brother. That's like instinctual, that we want to shift the heat off of us. We want to shift the blame off of us. But in this case, we need this person to acknowledge what has happened. We need them to acknowledge what they've done. And I mean, they've got to say what they've done, what has happened. And then they've got to acknowledge the pain that it's caused their spouse. So that, to me, is sometimes the hardest piece. But that's the first step. And then the second step is they must show true remorse, true repentance. And this comes in so many different forms. It can come in the form of, just that sad, depressed mood, crying and pleading, and, just a total shift in their person, in their personality. And just generally speaking, being truly repentant, truly remorseful, saying, I'm sorry, apologizing, going above and beyond to be transparent moving forward, going above and beyond to do everything that's necessary to prove to the betrayed spouse that they are changing, they are growing, they want the relationship, and they're going to do what they have to do to maintain the relationship. This remorse and repentance does not look like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're talking about this again. Why are we still talking about this? It's been a month. It's been 2 months. I wish you would get over it already. Going cold, being super secretive, hiding your phone, not calling or texting, not alerting the spouse where you are or what you're doing or who you're with. That's not remorse. That's not repentance. None of that. You have got to become an open book. You have got to do what is necessary to give the betrayed spouse the feeling of security, the feeling of trust again. This is also a big one. And you've got to do it until they will, they'll heal at their own pace. And everyone is different. Everyone heals at their own pace. I've had couples where it's been well into a year where they're still struggling, but they are doing their best to maintain their marriage or their relationship. Other couples, 2 or 3 months, 4 months. It really does depend. This is case by case. And so you've got to be that rock in the storm. That's the main thing. And so the third thing, this is the job of the betrayed spouse, okay? Because they play a part too in the process of healing, in the process of repairing this relationship. And so their responsibility is to be open to forgiving and open to allowing their partner to change and to grow and to be a better person. And if they are, shut down, if they are angry, if they are punishing, if they are belittling, if they are continuing to, just completely, they're just continuing to punish their partner at every turn. And this goes on and on and on. Even the greatest person will grow weary. They grow weary if they're not seeing this person acknowledge that they're really trying, or acknowledge that they're really remorseful or repentant, or acknowledge that they're going out of their way to call on their way home and to leave their phone face up, not have the code on their phone. If they're not getting any healthy feedback after a period of time, even the best person will grow weary. So understand, if you are the offended partner, you play a role too. You play a role in your relationship healing. And so you have to give this person a chance, especially if they've done one and two. If they've done the first thing and the second thing, okay, so now it's on you. It's on you to watch. It's on you to wait and observe and to slowly allow this person to rebuild trust with you again. And if you are completely shut down, and might I say, if you're like me and you want to hold on to number one, then you need to let this relationship go. You need to end this relationship, because if you're never going to get over it, if you're always going to bring it up, if you're always going to be angry or hurt, or, if that's the case, you can't maintain a healthy relationship with this person anymore. And honestly, this is going to be hard to hear, but I don't believe God put any of us in charge of just completely humiliating and punishing another person. I just don't. I think that whatever's coming their way, he's going to see to it. It's not your job. It's not your job to just punish this person for life. You've got to let go. If you can't forgive, if you can't move on, if you can't allow this person a chance to show you that they're different so you all can heal and grow, then you need to let go. And let me tell you, that's who I am. At the end of the day, I know myself pretty well, and I go inside and I assess, can I move past this? Can I one day, love this person deeply like I did before? And maybe the relationship won't be the same or like it was before, but even if it's different, it can still be a good kind of different, right? It can still be good and positive, filled with trust and love. Some people even say it can be stronger, it can be better. So if you're open to that, you have to let go. You have to get on the journey of letting go of what happened, because you can't keep that over the other person's head every chance they get, every turn. Anyone and everyone will grow weary of that. And so just like when my children make mistakes, right? They make mistakes, I discipline them or guide and direct them. And then, I let go. I watch to see if they can do better, if they can get better. And no, I don't continue to browbeat them about the thing that happened 3 months, 6 months, 9 months ago. No, why? Like, we're over that. I give them a chance to make that repair and to do better next time. And we as human beings, we can change. Any and every one of us can change. Now, what's going to kickstart that change is different for every person. For some people, they have an epiphany, right? They just have this great epiphany that, you know what, I need to do something different. Something has to change in my life. For other people, it is a great pain. It is a great mistake or a pain unlike any other pain that makes them go, oh God, I cannot go through this again. I cannot do this again. This is so awful. I just can't do this. And then they change. They get on the journey of changing and growing. And that's a good thing. Change is not a dirty word. Sometimes it is absolutely necessary for us to change to become our best self. So to the betrayed spouse, you've got to give that offender a chance. If you're going to maintain the relationship, if you say, because I ask all my couples, what do you want moving forward? Do you want to be in this relationship, this marriage with this person? And if they say yes, I say, okay, well, your part, the role that you play in this is you've got to be open and receptive to this person showing you something different, showing their remorse and their repentance, and doing whatever it is you need for them to do within reason to rebuild the trust. That is the thing. But look for patterns. That is the biggest thing I can tell you. If I see patterns in a person, then the chances are high that those patterns will repeat. That's why they're called patterns. So just be mindful of that. To all my single ladies out there is a way to kind of find out information like this from a man that you're dating, but you don't want to be super obvious about it. Like, you don't want to just blurt out. So, have you ever cheated before? What did the last relationship you were in? Did it end because you cheated or someone cheated? You want to kind of dance around this subject a little, but you do want to get to the truth because you want to see if there are any patterns. And so I have a way of getting this information without directly asking, but usually men do tell me, oh, I wasn't getting enough sex at home. And so, yeah, I made a mistake. I stepped out. Or, oh, I was kind of sort of seeing this girl and we were kind of sort of in this situation, but it wasn't exclusive and I wasn't married to her. And so, yeah, she caught me with this other girl, so just listen to things like this because one, this is reflective of this person's character. And that's the most important thing you got. You need to know what this person, will do and won't do. And you'll also find out, oh, was it a slip up? Like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I've never done it since. I feel so bad about having done that. That's not who I am. Or, hey, if I'm not getting it at home, what else do you expect? Pay attention to things like that because that is very telling. Very, very telling. And yes, I believe every person can change. That's why I'm in the business of, being a therapist because I'm here to help facilitate change. I'm here to help guide people along their path to changing and growing. But the person does have to be open to that. They have to want to do that work. And it is work. Like it's a journey. And it's not always a comfortable one. Sometimes people will start out on the journey and it will become very uncomfortable. The work will almost be too much and they will abandon it. They will abandon the path and go back to being how they were because it just, it's not comfortable. So be mindful of this when you're moving forward. But once a cheater, always a cheater, it really does depend case by case. But you are going to look for patterns. You are going to look for signs of things. If the cheating has happened in the relationship you're in and the person has not fully acknowledged what they've done, if they're not repentant or remorseful, it's not a good, that's not a good look. Don't do it. Do not do it. Just say, okay, well, you got me, okay, you got me. And all right, we need to part ways. I just don't believe, I don't hear the sincerity that this will not happen again. And you don't even need to go into grave detail because sometimes when you say, oh, you haven't acknowledged, oh, you don't sound remorseful or repentant, then they may put on this big act and they may give you all those things you just asked for. But we want those things to kind of come out of them naturally. We don't want to have to guide them on, this is my expectation for how you're to act about this, or this is what you're to do. Nope. You just see what happens and just know if that person can't fully acknowledge what has happened and they cannot fully, be remorseful or repentant, those are not good signs. So moving forward, I really wished this cheating thing didn't even exist. I mean, it is something that is so soul crushing and it's so hurtful. It's so painful that you open yourself up to a person in this way and then this happens. And it can change people. That's what's so dangerous about it. Cheating truly changes a person, changes who they are and what they believe. And, it's really, really serious. But rebound, come back to love and realize that, that person is not a representative of love. That person is a representative of that person. And all men don't cheat. All women are not, as the Chris Brown song says about the women not being loyal. That's not true. There are lots of good, loyal women who are faithful. And there are good, loyal, faithful men who don't cheat. I've dated quite a few. So be open to finding love again. If this has happened to you and you weren't able to get past it, I just want you to heal your heart and just be open to doing that work inside of you, especially if you've dated a series of cheaters. You've got to do that inner work to figure out why you're attracting this type. And once you do, trust me, it is so worth it. You will never run across these men again. You will never attract these men again. And your heart will start to heal, and you will attract a wonderful, faithful, loving man, and right off into the sunset. So that is all I have for you this week. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay open to love.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. Your ratings and reviews help me to continue to bring you more great content. Head on over to YouTube and check out the Better Love Movement channel. There's more video content there, and you can subscribe to be notified when a new video is posted. If you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast or in a YouTube video, please send it to me at info@betterlovemovement.com. You can also connect with me directly on the Magnify app to have your dating and relationship questions answered. That's MAGNIFI, and it's available on iOS and Android. You get your first 5 minutes for free. So give me a call and let's chat.